There's a joke in the prepper community that always makes me laugh. I'm terrified my wife will sell all my preps for what I told her I paid for them. It's funny, but it's also revealing. Because hidden inside that joke is a real vulnerability. We spend years thinking about water, power, redundancy, bug in versus bug out, collapse scenarios. But very few of us ask a more ordinary question. What happens to all this stuff when I die in peacetime? Not collapse, not EMP, not grid failure, just illness, accident, age. One of my university professors once mentioned that some people speculate that the first person who will never die may have already been born. He was clear that he didn't believe that, and he was probably the smartest person I've ever met. Which leaves us with one event that still has 100% probability: death. This video was prompted by another creator whom I respect very much, Jan from the Pagan Prepper. She made a video about what she calls her inevitable cupboard. I will link it below, and I strongly recommend you watch it. Jan has kindly given me permission to reference her work. Her video is warm, thoughtful, and deeply personal. Mine will be a little bit more structural, but it would not exist without hers. This is not about SHTF succession planning. That's a separate conversation. What happens to leadership, kit, and community in a genuine crisis is its own topic, and we may explore that in future. Tonight is about peacetime, and it's about not leaving chaos behind. Jan calls it the inevitable cupboard. I think that's a brilliant phrase. It's simply a physical place where everything your loved ones might need is kept together. A folder, documents, instructions, clarity. In her case, it includes personal details, certificates, funeral wishes, contact lists, and very specific instructions about what should happen to her ashes. The ceremonial aspects will differ for all of us. Some people want religious services, some want secular, some want no funeral at all. Some want direct cremation, some want burial, some want something entirely unconventional. The detail is personal. The principle is universal. When someone dies unexpectedly, the hardest decisions are often not the financial ones. They are the small human ones. What should they be dressed in? What music would they have chosen? Who should be contacted first? Those decisions feel enormous when you are grieving. Leaving guidance is not control, it's kindness. You don't need robes laid out unless that matters to you, but you do need clarity. And why not leave the garments themselves if this removes the decision from loved ones when they're grieving? But you do need a physical folder that includes date of birth, national insurance number, marriage history if relevant, and the location of your will. A contact list of people to notify, funeral preferences, organ donation wishes, any prepaid arrangements. It doesn't need to be dramatic, but it does need to exist. That alone removes a huge amount of uncertainty from a difficult week of someone's life. Structure still matters. If you die without a will in the UK, the state decides how your estate is distributed, and it may not align with your wishes. A professionally drafted will is not about being wealthy, it's about being clear. You need an executor, a backup executor, clear beneficiaries, a residue clause, explicit reference to digital assets, Very simple estates can possibly be handled with a DIY will, but most lives are not simple. I only recommend a DIY will where it's very simple and unlikely to be challenged. Ambiguity is where disputes grow. And then there's lasting power of attorney. In the UK, there are two types: property and financial affairs, and health and welfare. This is not about death. This is about incapacity. If you are alive but unable to manage your affairs, who steps in? Preppers talk about redundancy in systems. Lasting power of attorney are redundancy for you. And then there's digital reality. YouTube channels, affiliate income, domains, cloud storage, password managers, crypto. Modern estates are often delayed not by lack of money, but by lack of access. If no one can log in, assets effectively freeze. Legal structure is not cold. It's one of the most practical ways of showing you care. It says, I didn't leave you to sort this out blind. Grief changes behaviour. People simplify. They don't optimise. They don't enjoy detective work. And ask yourself honestly, if I died tonight, could someone access my bank accounts, locate my insurance policies, identify subscriptions, understand recurring bills, find the important documents, find your will? Most households would struggle. This is where your own version of the inevitable cupboard becomes powerful. You should include an account list, providers, rough balances, location of paperwork, instructions on where passwords are stored. You're not trying to control the future. You're trying to reduce friction. Funeral preferences sit here too. Burial or cremation, religious or secular, dress code, donations instead of flowers. Small decisions become heavy when they're made in shock, and clarity lightens that weight. Now we return to that joke. The spouse selling your preps for what you said you paid for them. To a non-prepper, £1,000 power station looks like a heavy battery. A £300 rucksack looks like a green bag. A £200 sleeping bag looks like fabric in a sack. Water storage looks like plastic clutter. Without context, your carefully curated kit is just stuff. I recently saw a lady online asking about a rather impressive supply of large cans of dehydrated food that her husband or her father had left behind. She didn't want to donate them because she knew he had worked hard to build that stock, but she didn't want to keep them. And she simply did not know how much they were worth. To the community's credit, preppers rallied round her. They made sure she understood their value, and they were clearly not going to let her be taken for a ride. That pleased me. But it also revealed something important. It's not realistic in most cases to assume that someone who showed no interest in prepping before your death will suddenly carry it on in any meaningful way. If you already have preppers in your family, that may be different. And yes, you can hope that someone continues it, in whole or in part. Don't leave that hope as a stone around their neck. Prepping was your responsibility and your interest. It doesn't automatically become theirs. If they choose to continue, that should feel like an inheritance, not an obligation. So instead of leaving expectation, leave clarity. A short document that explains what the equipment is, why you bought it, what it does, a rough resale value, what could be sold, what could be donated, and what could be just cleared without guilt. Not every tin of beans, just enough context so they're not guessing in the dark. If you're building a brand, a YouTube channel, or a community project, Specify intent. Should it continue? Should it be archived? Should it be passed on to someone else? Should it be closed? If you do not decide, then the default decision is simplification. And simplification often means disposal. Strip everything back. What are you really leaving? Money, kit, or clarity? You can't manage people from the grave, but you can reduce friction. You can leave clear instructions, letters if you wish, a short statement of values, an explanation of what matter to you and why. Most people have confusion simply because they never pause to think about this. You do not have to be ceremonial. You do not have to be sentimental. But you can be deliberate. This has been about peacetime death, not collapse, not crisis succession, just the ordinary end of a life lived in a functional society. You cannot out-prep mortality, but you can prevent chaos. You can prevent legal ambiguity and administrative paralysis. You can prevent unnecessary burden on the people you care about. And if you've built systems to survive crisis, build one to survive your absence. Jan called it the inevitable cupboard. I think that's a great place to start. I will link her video below. Watch it, reflect on it, then build your own. Thank you so much for your time and attention, and I look forward to our next video.